Good morning. Today is the 5th day of February 2017. We welcome you to our continuing series, Questions and Answers for a World in Crisis. And today, a most important subject on teachers and students. Here is the mother to teachers. Quote, "There is one thing that I must emphasize. Don't try to follow what is done in universities outside. Don't try to pump into the students mere data and information. Don't give them so much work that they may not get time for anything else. You are not in a great hurry to catch a train. Let the students understand what they learn. Let them assimilate it. Finishing the course should not be your goal. You should make the program in such a way that the students may get time to attend the subjects they want to learn. They should have sufficient time for their physical exercises. I don't want them to be very good students, yet pale, thin, anemic. Perhaps you will say that in this way they will not have sufficient time for their studies. But that can be made up by expanding the course over a longer period. Instead of finishing a course in 4 years, you can take 6 years. Rather, it would be better for them. They will be able to assimilate more of the atmosphere here, and their progress will not be just in one direction at the cost of everything else. It will be an all-round progress in all directions. 10th of September, 1953. To avoid giving too much work to the students of the higher course, but without lowering the general standard, the ones who feel that they have much to do could be invited to give up a few courses. They would then be able to concentrate their time and energy on those they wish to keep. This would be better than lightening the courses, which would, as a result, lose their value for the other students. It is only natural that besides gifted students who have no difficulty in following, we should have less gifted students who cannot follow at the same pace. The latter could set aside certain subjects and take them up later by doing an extra year. Is this a good solution? Mother, that depends. It cannot be made the general rule. For many of them, it would not be much use. They have not reached a stage where they would be able to concentrate more on certain subjects if they had fewer subjects to study. The only result would be to encourage them to slacken, the very opposite of concentration, and it would lead to a waste of time. The solution does not lie there. What you should do is to teach the children to take interest in what they are doing. That is not the same thing as interesting the students. You must arouse in them the desire for knowledge, for progress. One can take an interest in anything, in sweeping a room, for example, if one does it with concentration, in order to gain an experience, to make a progress, to become more conscious. I often say this to the students who complain of having a bad teacher. even if they don't like the teacher, even if he tells them useless things, or if he is not up to the mark. They can always derive some benefit from their period of class, learn something of great interest, and progress in consciousness. Most teachers want to have good students, students who are studious and attentive, who understand and know many things, who can answer. Well, good students. This spoils everything. The students begin to consult books, to study, to learn. Then they rely only on books, on what others say or write. And they lose contact with the superconscient part which receives knowledge by intuition. This contact often exists in a small child, but it is lost in the course of his education. For the students to be able to progress in the right direction, it is obvious that the teachers should have understood this and changed their old way of seeing and teaching. Without that, my work is at a standstill. 16 December 1959. There was disagreement among the teachers about whether the study of English literature should be made compulsory or optional for literature students of the higher course. When the matter was referred to the mother for decision, she replied, to the teachers, it is not so much the details of organization as the attitude that must change. It seems that unless the teachers themselves get above the usual intellectual level, it will be difficult for them to fulfill their duty and accomplish their task. It is not through uniformity that you obtain unity. It is not through uniformity of programs and methods that you will obtain the unity of education. Unity is obtained through a constant reference, silent or expressed, as the case demands, to the central ideal, the central force or light, the purpose and the goal of our education. The true, the supreme unity expresses itself in diversity. It is mental logic that demands sameness. In practice, each one must find and apply his own method, that which he understands and feels. It is only in this way that education can be effective. 13 October 1960. A teacher complained that trivial and useless things were being taught. That, for example, in the language classes, students were asked to read foolish stories and given insignificant details about the life and customs of the people. Mother answers, your difficulty comes from the fact that you have still the old belief that in life some things are high and others low. It is not exact. It is not the things or the activities that are high or low. It is the consciousness of the doer which is true or false. If you unite your consciousness with the Supreme Consciousness and manifest it, all you think, feel, or do becomes luminous and true. It is not the subject of the teaching which is to be changed, it is the consciousness with which you teach that must be enlightened. 31 July 1967. School is just a preparation to make the students capable of thinking, studying, progressing, and becoming intelligent if they can. All that must be done during the entire life and not only in school. November 1967. The old method of teaching is obviously outdated and will be gradually abandoned throughout the whole world. But to tell the truth, each teacher, drawing his inspiration from modern ideas, should discover the method which he finds best and most suited to his nature. Ordinary classes belong to the past and will gradually disappear. As for the choice between working alone or joining the vers la perfection classes, that depends on you. Because to teach and to conduct a class, one must move away from theory and intellectual speculations to a very concrete application which has to be worked out in all its details. Up to the age of 7, children should enjoy themselves. School should all be a game, and they learn as they play. As they play, they develop a taste for learning, knowing, and understanding life. The system is not very important. It is the attitude of the teacher that matters. The teacher should not be something that one endures under constraint. He should always be the friend whom you love because he helps and amuses you. Above the age of 7, the new system can be applied to those who are ready, provided that there is a class where others can work in the ordinary way. And for that class, the teacher should be convinced that what he is doing is the right method. He should not feel that he is relegated to an inferior task. When people do not agree, it is their pettiness, their narrowness, which prevents them from doing so. They may be right in their idea, but they may not be doing the right thing if they don't have the necessary opening. The teachers have to grow into the needed consciousness. Emphasis should be on the actual experiences of work, and there should be no difference in the child's mind between work and play. All should be a joy of interest. It is the teacher's job to create that interest. If the interest is there, the right work will follow. When you think with words, you can express what you think with those words only. To think with ideas is to be able to put the same idea in many kinds of words. The words can also be of different languages, if you happen to know more than one language. This is the most elementary thing about thinking with ideas. When you think with experience, you go much deeper, and you can express the same experience with many kinds of ideas. Then thought can take this form or that form in any language, and through all of them, the essential realization will remain unchanged. To be convincing when you speak, think not in ideas, but experiences. From Sri Aurobindo. Sri Aurobindo, in one of his letters, has written about the young people and their readiness for sadhana. I enclose a copy of this letter for you to see. I should like to know from you if the warning given by Sri Aurobindo in this letter against enthusiastically communicating to the young people the ideas and feelings about spiritual life should be kept in mind while speaking to our students in the class. Is there danger of lighting an imitative and unreal fire in them, as Sri Aurobindo says here? Sri Aurobindo's letter, quote, "It may be said generally that to be over-anxious to pull people, especially very young people, into the sadhana is not wise. The sadhak who comes to this yoga must have a real call. And even with the real call, the way is often difficult enough. But when one pulls people in a spirit of enthusiastic propagandism, the danger is of lighting an imitative and unreal fire, not the true Agni, or else a short-lived fire which cannot last and is submerged by the uprush of the vital waves. This is especially so with young people who are plastic and easily caught hold of by ideas and communicated feelings, not their own. Afterwards, the vital rises with its unsatisfied demands, and they are swung between two contrary forces, or rapidly yield to the strong pull of the ordinary life and action and satisfaction of desire, which is the natural bent of adolescence. Or else the unfit adhar tends to suffer under the stress of a call for which it was not ready, or at least not yet ready. When one has the real thing in oneself, one goes through and finally takes the full way of sadhana. But it is only a minority that does so. It is better to receive only people who come of themselves, and of these, only those in whom the call is genuinely their own and persistent. From Sri Aurobindo's Letters on Yoga, Centenary Volume 24, pages 1615, 1616. Mother replies, "This quotation is splendid and very, very useful. Certainly the warning given by Sri Aurobindo must be strictly kept in mind when speaking to the young people who are bound to change their mind easily. In class, you must remain very objective. Blessings.